Maybe this will work.
Yeah,
Maybe this will work. Oh, fuck that. We're doing this again. Welcome to the Zachrilege cast. I didn't come with any special songs or anything because you know what? We are just going to be chatting, so we'll see. So far, Podunk Chris is here. Podunk Lyman. What's the issue with Lyman, Chris? I feel like you say it better than I do.
Router.
Router, huh? Did you
Mr.
say?
IT man can't fix his fucking router. Let that be known. Just saying.
Well, my router's in the next room, and my internet isn't always the best, so we'll see. I have not been kicked out since I started with whatever this new connection is. So tonight, I'm doing a little taste test between Bourbon Barrel Drafty Kilt, which is in the larger glass. I think it might not be around anymore. I was surprised it lasted as long as it did. And this, of course, is year-round, Backwoods Bastard, which is aged. And maybe that's why you don't like Bourbon Barrel, because most bourbon barrels are made of oak.
Well, not all of them are that
bad. And if things get really bad, we have this.
I'm going to need you to put that shit away.
I was going to be like some kind of bad if I watched like a Christian presuppositionalist like debate, or if I watched the My Pillow Guy documentary or something, I would have to drink something like this, But I still can't do it. I was gonna do it to show how bitter and disappointed I was when a football team lost, but even that doesn't equal the just bad taste of a Bud Light. And just the sheer nothingness, the sheer void, and just realizing so many people, that's what they drink on a daily basis, and they like it. Maybe that explains why so many people think Trump is the new Jesus. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, but...
These hipster fucks are doing it, too. There we go. These hipster fucks.
Yeah, no, I saw you're a little blurry there in Nashville. So can you possibly explain what it was like? Because I lived in Nashville in like middle school, and if we got a little bit of snow, the whole state freaked out. But you had like legitimate weather that would have shut any part of the country down for like part of a week, right?
Better part of a week.
Yeah. I like your dainty, well, I'd say dainty glass, probably the same size as mine. It's just you're sitting further back. It looks really big.
Get a fisheye lens.
Perspective is important, people.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That shit was kind of scary because I legit ran out of food. Because I didn't have any. I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually gonna have to do something. So
yeah, you don't have a lot of provisions for a lot of situations, right? So you just have to, you live day to day, right?
Pretty much, yeah. As far as food and shit goes, I mean, I got money, a little money put away. That's just when it comes to taking care of myself, basically. I'm fucked. So by the point I got to, I decided to go ahead and go. I assaulted the driveway to get down. Unfortunately, I slipped on my ass going down the stairs. Thankfully, it was the bottom 4, so it was fun. But
it was fine.
And I was able to get out and get some shit. But then I had to go. Well, I didn't have to, but I ended up going out again to get beer. I think it was. And I came back, and I couldn't get it in the parking place. I was trying to get, because I don't know what kind of complex I'm paying here. These motherfuckers didn't even try to fucking shovel those parking spaces. So I'm trying to get over this hump to try to get in this parking space, and I'm sliding everywhere. Next person over here is trying to get out, some old chick in a Camaro or something. Some midlife crisis shit going on. But we helped each other. Everything. I ended up getting in, but one last thing, I did slip straight on my back going out to get beer out of the car. the night after.
A lesson was learned.
I wasn't even going. It was straight black ice. I mean, it was just. I wasn't even walking that fast or doing anything. Next thing I know, I'm doing the splits and shit. You know. So yeah, I got pretty. I mean, it got like I think 10 degrees. Is as cold as it got, which is about as cold as it needs to get here, really. Well, anywhere.
Well, Tennessee isn't quite as deregulated as Texas, so you actually had power for the whole time or most of it.
Well, yeah, but you know how they do. It's a monopoly in the area you're in. So yes, technically there's no competition, but we see how well that worked in the Texas case exactly. So maybe some things like utilities you might want to have centralized to the government, maybe, huh? You know.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just that. It was just like showing that the entire, except for like El Paso, the state was like cut off from the rest of the country. Like they couldn't have gotten extra energy if they wanted to. And I feel like it's been set up for a long time. And, you know, they say in the US, every state has different ways. And I want to hear how different states are doing things that are better. But it seems like all we ever hear of like how things are worse. Like how, I was saying, well, we should talk tonight about our like competing states, like which state legislature is trying to pass the dumbest laws. You know, we can probably go back and forth about that, but it's just the dumb things that pass in states and the way they set it up because they think this theory works. And then once they found out it hasn't worked for like 100 years, they're like, well, we can just control the media and lie to people for 50 years so no one knows what the truth is, and then we can do whatever we want and get away with it. And weirdly, like all these Democrats flooded into the state and like tried to help people, and other Republicans flooded out of the state, going flying to Cancun or to, I think it was the Attorney General or the governor of Texas flew to Utah or something. Like Utah is better than Texas.
He's under investigation or something, so he's got an extra reason.
But I think that that's a rule. You have to be under investigation. Like Trump's been under investigation his entire life, and what happened? Nothing. So I'm not really
not
worried that Abbott's going to be in trouble.
Jesus, fucking jackass.
Well, I feel like one of the times we were going to have Lyman on, like the entire time we were like, oh, he's coming. It's the Great Pumpkin. It's going to show up. And then he didn't. And then the one time he was on from the beginning. So I have a feeling we're going to be Lyman free. So we might not have as much commie talk as we want. Well, you can cover for that.
He's at the point where he's at the computer. So he's.
Ooh.
You know.
Well, since, until he shows up, let's do the little state comparison. So what's happening in Tennessee? What kind of laws are they passing lately?
I mean, honestly, I don't even pay attention. The big thing right now is the transport, the transport girls, trans girls in sports thing, and they're trying to make it where they have to prove that they're girls, whatever. You know the shit. You know what they're doing. Right?
Yeah, I always talk about how Georgia is just as bigoted as the other like southern states, but we're just behind the curve. So Georgia introduced their law, but they wanted to have like a 3-panel medical panel where they were like going to physically check the genitalia of high school, middle school girls to see if they were, girl enough for them. And it's just like, that seems like that's going to be worse than the stereotypical guy in a dress going into a women's bathroom that they scared us about.
It always is. It's projection.
And those laws were coming out the last time we had ReasonCon. That was a while back. That was like 3 years ago. So yeah. Those are the hot laws then. Now it's like, yeah, let's save women's sports because so many people cared about women's sports. You can see the, massive TV ratings they always get, but then it's like no one gives a shit. And all of a sudden, when trans people are have any chance of getting rights, it's like, oh, let's wait. We kind of lost with gay people, but we still have the trans people to attack. So let's do that.
That's what they always find new targets because they don't have anything real. It's all just smoke and mirrors. They're just bigots, and they want to stay in the I don't know 1700s. I guess I don't have a theocracy and shit. That's all this is about.
But isn't that cancel culture?
Is if Jesus says it's okay, then it's fine. It's not. It's what would Jesus do, right? So there you go.
I think it was something I sent you from Tennessee, and it was like a law. I think it was in the state legislature, and it was about they were going to like arrest people if they took a knee during the national anthem. And God, I don't know why there's this boner for the national anthem, because like a few weeks ago, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks NBA team said, you know what, let's just not do, actually, he quietly didn't do the national anthem and nobody paid attention. And then he said, you know what, we're just not going to do the national anthem. There's not going to be any kneeling because there's not going to be any national anthem. And the rest of the NBA was like, you are fucking doing it. And they just said, no, you're doing, and it like all the white sports dudes who are secretly Trump lover, well, not secretly, we're like all over that national anthem. So great. Yeah. So yeah, it's a thing. It's like this weird nationalist thing. And I'm hoping to have Hemet Mehta on my show because he did a podcast about the Pledge of Allegiance. And when the Pledge of Allegiance first came into schools, they actually did a version of like the Nazi salute during it, except the instead of the arm being it was like the wrist was the other way. I'm not going to show it because I might become really popular on YouTube all of a sudden. It was like instead of the hand being straight up, it was reversed, and then they stopped doing it during World War II because.
So like this, like this.
Well, we'll see. This is the salute that like that, and then this is the American one. Yep.
Oh, I see.
Ben Shapiro is gonna be kissing my butt tomorrow.
No, I get the free thought.
Has he moved? Oh,
your friends from the Free Thought Prophet.
I saw somebody that I follow on Twitter like retweeted them, and I'm like, oh, they still exist. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I muted them because I muted them. And then they kept saying shit, and I was getting it, and then I blocked, and it disappeared. And I've never slept better. I've never been happier.
I go check every once in a while just to see. I know.
You forget that they're like some things that you want to be aware of and you want to fight, and there's some things you're just like, okay, I get it. I don't need to hear any more of it. And if there's something like that, well. Hopefully it's a thing, but just that one argument I was having with one other podcast, it didn't matter. Or, it's like arguing with a Christian presuppositionalist. Like you're not getting anywhere, and maybe you're influencing other people, but no.
Influences shit. No, man, that was.
People want to defend bad people because I don't know. They want to have a atheist Trump, I guess. They want to have someone that they can worship, and the rules don't apply to them. So if people want to have that, that's fine for them, and that's not gonna be fine with me. Like, why do we even have this system where we have to have these leaders? People who are leading like atheist groups, great. They can lead it for a year or two and then put somebody else in charge, but not to be like our whatever Pope God cult thing.
We don't have anything like that. I mean, there's, because you see what happened to Silverman and Sherlock. They just can't shut up. So what they're gonna do is what they've already done, or I don't know if they've, they joined that some group. This dude heads, who used to be what was it? Penthouse something. I don't
It
remember.
was whoever was like after the Atheist Alliance International, because there's like an International Atheist Alliance and there's an Atheist Alliance International, and the Atheist Alliance International is the one that keeps bringing people to lead them that are the worst white. Like you couldn't have made it in a chemistry lab, come up with the worst like entitled white guy be in charge of our group who likes to call people the R word and say, "Oh, we should be debating about using the N word," and that kind of stuff. And it's like, I'm
good.
I don't think Michael Sherlock has had the issues that David Silverman has had, but he's definitely had the issues with dealing with other human beings. And if you're the leader of an atheist group and you're like, "We're anti-woke," it's like, okay, I don't need to pay attention. That's one thing. I'm like, that group, if they're helping atheists around the world, I hope someone else is, because I cannot be part of that. Just not my thing.
Well, I mean, there's always
there's another group out there, the International Atheist Alliance. I think Godless Mom, who I had a long time ago, Canadian, one of the good Canadians. Boy, they're bad and good Canadians too. We've learned that over the years. They're helping people internationally, and that seems to be a good group worthy of your time. Anyway,
there's always groups you can support that do something similar with that.
There's not like one, but just to go with the theme of the picture I used for the episode, Rush Limbaugh. So should we never speak poorly of the dead? Is that always, anytime a conservative person dies, all the conservative people who talked massive shit about anyone on the left who died are like, you can't say anything bad about someone who just died. And the politicians who wanted to do I think in Florida they did flags at half-staff for Rush Limbaugh dying.
No. So there's a thing going on about that. The governor wants to do it.
Oh.
But some of the cities aren't wanting to go along with it. For obvious reasons. I mean, do I need to enumerate them, right? I mean, so yeah, this is an actual thing the governor is trying to do. Can you imagine if we tried to, I mean, I'm not saying Al Franken has the same reach or whatever, but let's say some leftist personality dude died. Bernie Sanders. No, Bernie ran for president, though. Anyway, some suitable example I can't think
Now, finally, a cat interruption. I was waiting.
Well, more on time than fucking Lyman's ass.
You should just name one of your cats Lyman. Lyman, shut up!
No, she's actually here on time.
Of course.
Just goes here and wrote shit. I don't know. Like I said, let's say we had to lower the flag for George Soros. Oh, that would be so awesome.
Yeah.
But
because I almost know, I only know the conspiracy theory story of George Soros, other than he's got a lot of money. Yeah, your camera occasionally gets blurry. It's just the sexiness is just too strong and just can't handle it. I think that's what the deal is.
It's autofocus.
It's not the cat.
God damn it, cat.
I did a test with one of my cats earlier today. It was me, and it was like an extension cord. And I was like, okay, who do you like more? And the cat rubbed the extension cord more than me. I see another person.
Oh, no. There's a Lyman.
Lyman's here.
Hi.
You exist.
How's it
Hey,
going?
what's up, bro?
Hey, man.
Good.
Hey, bro. Skater, man.
Just
At least
skater, man.
his
I got my
camera.
Pearl Jam t-shirt on.
Oh, yes.
From circa 1993.
You look high as fuck. Are you tired?
I am tired, actually.
I told you about staying up, doing the math and shit.
Sorry.
So we each were doing our ode to our favorite atheist content creator, Rush Limbaugh. So I wondered if you had any thoughts.
Fuck him into the sun and back. And I don't know. I grew up listening to him because my dad used to listen to it in the car, and he was annoying to me then, even though I didn't like really listen. And it only got worse. So I think it's our responsibility to dance on his fucking grave for the rest of eternity, in hopes that we don't let other people, fall under the same spell as that asshole provided for the last like 30 years.
Yeah, I wonder how much it would turn like the alt history thing. Like when Rush Limbaugh got fired from like his first radio job, if he had never gotten another job, would our country be like marketably different? Because he's influential, like not only on like conservative politics, like he was telling when the House, like Newt Gingrich from Georgia, took over, he was giving them orders, and he was like, take no prisoners, which is still the case today. It's still amazing. Like, we feel free to talk about Biden, but it's like, I think we can give up the whole let's work together thing.
Yeah.
And there's no reason. I mean, you can pretend to do it, but there's no reason to actually do it because you have the numbers and you're only going to have them for 2 years. So
I would like to say one thing, because Ben Shapiro and these other fucksticks are proliferating this nonsense of how Limbaugh invented talk radio. That's objectively false. Like, you can Google it. The first accredited talk radio is in the 50s out of Boston, and then in the 60s out of LA. So he didn't invent shit. And I don't know why that bothered me as much as it did. Maybe it's him getting credit, but yeah.
They're just saying their kind of talk radio is what they mean,
I mean, it was popular. It was the whole like, oh, the conservatives aren't being listened to. I mean, I recently watched the Mrs. America show on Hulu. That's about like Phyllis Schlafly and
Is it good?
Her group, and how it's really good, but it's kind of depressing because you feel like, oh man, we're on the verge of like doing a lot of cool stuff, and then a bunch of mad housewives took over, and we ended up with Reagan, and the last 40 years have been shit. And I'm
gonna have to watch that.
And now all we hear about is the left people trying to even possibly approach the beginning of what the Republicans have been doing for 40 years. So I'm like, well, good luck. No. Maybe we should be infecting people with lies that make them act, even if it's counter to what they want. I don't know. Can we make people mad the way conservatives make people mad about like gay marriage, about, Medicare for all, or raising the minimum wage, or giving a shit about people at the border, that kind of thing?
You mean upset about basic human decency and empathy?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that ship sailed?
I think it is absolutely possible to get them pissed off about it the same way we all got pissed off when they opposed it. I think that's definitely possible, especially now that there's some level of accountability inside of like social medias and awareness, to where it's like not just some, all of us sitting here on a podcast or in a group being like, oh, well, fuck these people. It's like the flagrant, malignant malfeasance of these people that is being looked at. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, it's for capitalist reasons, because they don't want to alienate people. They want to make their money and all that. But it still happens to be a good thing. We can do things like get them canceled, quote unquote, which doesn't really exist. It's just repercussions. But, meme campaigns. I don't know.
I mean, Glenn Greenwald is really making me worried about all this censorship about.
Oh, he's going turf now.
Oh, it's so rough. It's like,
did you say Glenn Greenwald's a turf?
He's going turf.
Well, no, I don't know about that part. I just know that he sure seems to be against anything that will piss off anyone who might be giving him money who's a conservative.
Which breaks my heart, because I used to like.
I feel like he's done. It's not like the people who said I used to like Rush growing up, and then turned out Rush sucked. It was like Glenn Greenwald has actually supported good. Like, it's so weird that he lives in Brazil, where like he's gay, and that country is like cracking down, but he seems to be always on the side against progress in the U.S. I mean, I know the way he frames it, but it's just what.
How much Glenn Greenwald have you consumed prior to Trump?
I was listening.
Not a lot.
See,
it's like him and Matt Taibbi. Like I used to love Matt Taibbi, like his books and all that. And now those two are in lockstep.
So I used to read his column all the time. He had a column.
Glenn?
Greenwald had the column for a while. I can't remember what it was. I used to read that.
Didn't he do Vice? And then, of course, he did The Intercept, but then he left because they edited him. They dared edit the mighty Greenwald. So.
Like, I used to really look up to... He was one of the journalists that I used to look up to pre-Intercept, because him and Laura Poitras were the two journalists that went to Edward Snowden in Beijing. They're the ones that broke the leak.
Oh, they did the documentary. I mean, he was
Citizen 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for anyone who hasn't seen it. Number one, you should. But number two is the documentary is largely comprised of Glenn Greenwald with Laura Poitras holding a camcorder in Beijing, like talking to Edward Snowden before he ever leaked anything, all that stuff. It is the most honest portrayal of Edward Snowden possible because it's directly him. He wasn't this like radicalized, like fuck the United States, like and all this other stuff that that the government likes to portray, be it on the left or the right. It's a really good. He used to do really good work, and then at some point, something
slipped with his internet connection. Man, Lyman was going. I definitely.
What the actual fuck, Lyman?
I did. Oh, here he is. I think he's okay. We had you on a roll. And
I know, and all of a sudden,
I think it was the deep state. It was like, oh,
it was. They were like,
buddy. I definitely want to like talk to you because I read or listened to the audiobook of the Edward Snowden book, and I did notice the fact that like when he ended up in Russia, that was the end of the book. Like there was no discussion at all. Like it's really like I don't think the U.S. would allow him to go anywhere but Russia, so he was stuck there. But it does seem like he's kind of useful for Russia too. And I often wondered if Trump would leave the country and move in next door to Snowden, and they would be neighbors, and they could do like a reality show together.
See,
oh my God, shut up! Forever, shut up.
What's interesting about this, like, and this is all again, like, there's so much more nuance to this. So you should watch Citizen 4. One word, and the number 4 is spelled out. And it's actually made by Laura Poitras, who's a fantastic journalist still. So his original goal, oh God, now I'm drawing a blank. He was trying to get not El Salvador, not Guatemala. It was
it Ecuador? Or was that
Ecuador?
Where Assange ended up? Yeah.
Yes, it was Ecuador. Yeah. So he went from Beijing, and he had to do a stop, like flights do their thing. You had to stop there. And he was surprised that he was able to leave Beijing because he figured once it had broke that the U.S. would have canceled his passport. You're done. Like, you're here. And he managed to get tickets even to go to Ecuador. And when he landed in Moscow, or is it St. Petersburg? I can't remember. He landed in Russia. He was getting ready to get on another plane in the very near hours. And Jeremy Scahill, who is also a founding member of The Intercept and who is fucking amazing, probably my favorite journalist out there,
who is
period.
Strangely quiet on the whole issue, I might say.
Of what?
Of Greenwald. He hasn't really said shit about him.
Yeah, I mean...
Since he left? Yeah.
I'm just curious. I know what he's doing. I'm just curious.
It's like do you spend your time talking shit about him, or do you spend your time continuing to do like awesome international and domestic investigative journalism? But either way, like I'm sure they were friends. They had a falling out. Like I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that, but it's like, so he was getting ready to go to Ecuador. What had happened is the United States had canceled the passport, and they actually had grounded a plane, an Ecuadorian.
I remember that.
It was a plane of. It's not. Oh God, what am I thinking of?
Was it a transport?
It was a state plane. It was not a flight.
Oh,
that
a diplomatic.
Yes, it was whatever they call it. It was a state-owned plane that they had grounded with the president of Ecuador at the time. They had grounded and were like, "Yo, you can't do this. You can't do this." They put pressure on them. They canceled his passport. So basically, at that point, they guaranteed he had to stay there or turn himself in. Which fuck that. And so he sought asylum, all that good stuff. He was granted it, and that's why he's still here today. He said that if he could get a fair trial, which we all fucking know is never going to happen unless he gets a pardon, which is not a trial, that he basically has to stay there. He would like to come back here because his family, everything else is here. But he was without his, I don't know if they got married, his girlfriend, fiance, now wife, I don't know. He was without her for like a couple years because she couldn't come out there. He couldn't like come see her. But she's out there now, and they're just living in asylum out there in Moscow.
Who?
Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden. Yeah, Beyonce.
What did he say? Beyonce. What did you say? His fiance.
Beyonce.
Oh my gosh.
I thought he was saying Beyonce. I'm like, I'm sorry.
See, that's the thing I love
Kelly
about
Knowles
the Podunk Polymath. You two just, you can finish each other's sentences. It's amazing. So what are you drinking up there in, I don't even remember where you are, Maryland. Somewhere,
yeah.
Baltimore area?
I am drinking a iced Diet Coke with grenadine.
Okay. I just like that the color scheme we're all kind of on the same level. So,
yeah.
You know what? You have to respect other people's beverage choices. Not if it's this, but
absolutely not.
I brought this home from it was my parents had an anniversary party, and I have family members who love Bud Light, so they put it in their fridge, and it's been there since like 2 years ago.
I've never been able to drink Bud Light.
Because my parents they drink wine. They don't drink beer. I think maybe in the 80s they drank beer, but they're Catholic, so it's all about the wine. It's all good.
You're like, they're Catholic. Just, yeah.
I'd say they're the good kind of Catholic, but it's hard to say if that is it really objectively possible. But maybe one of these days I'll have them on and we'll have a good old discussion about
hey,
how Jesus loves the gays and it's all good. I don't know. I have no idea.
We can talk about how I was raised Mormon. And we can get them to opine.
Like the people out west, we have the Southern Baptist Convention, and they have like the Mormons. Like, it's crazy to me. It's like this whole different world that I know nothing about except through Lyman and the lady friend. The whole Mormon thing. They're real about this shit. To me, it's almost like it's made up.
Well,
which it's all made up, but
I mean, we know. I mean, it's the thing. Like, imagine having the kind of history we have on Mormonism. Like, we have like court records for Joseph Smith being arrested as a fraud. Imagine if they had like court records from Jesus and what, like, they actually had some of that stuff.
Ooh.
Although Jesus
matter.
is supposed to be a higher level than Joseph Smith was, but Joseph Smith still thought he was pretty cool stuff. It's pretty obvious, like it's obvious to see the fraud level and the fact that there's millions and millions, and they have billions of dollars, and they own whatever that weird land is in Missouri that they think is the Garden of Eden is. Because the Garden of Eden is in Missouri, everybody. If you've ever been to Missouri, you're like, wait, really? God, are you sure about that? That's one point in the favor of the atheists.
They have higher standards of their terrain and their neighbors.
Missouri's a fine state. It's about
sure
as most of the South when it comes to
it's not
I have family.
State's
I
garbage.
have
Except
I
the
have,
roads.
Wildly bad.
The
I have
letter.
family.
Holly, 2 words.
Fuck him. I have
so
family
bad.
that lives near the Kansas City, Kansas, Missouri line, and they're one of, let's see, well, one died of COVID because fuck everybody that didn't wear a mask, and the 2 cousins I have there, they're actually extremely left. The entirety of my father's side of the family is like damn near like goose stepping their way into the QAnon MAGA world. Like they're definitely there, and they're definitely. I mean, some of them probably do goose step in their free time.
Don't kick shame now.
I'm in the intermediate goose stepping.
So
Yeah.
one aside about the Mormon church is like I have one of the good cousins. He's been doing for like the last like 15 years or so our family genealogy, because TLDR, we have a giant Bible, like those old school Bibles that are like this thick, and
Like the one Biden had was the family Bible. Just giant.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like that. It came over with the Mayflower.
Oh my god!
And it has I swear to God, this is not a lie. It has the whole family tree handwritten into like the 17 or 8. I've seen it.
I need verification.
You know what? I'll go ask my MAGA loving QAnon people to be like, hey,
you do that, sir.
I will.
I'm gonna need some backup. We ain't like QAnon. We need evidence up in this motherfucker, Lyman.
So yes. So anyway, he's been doing our genealogy, and he went to Utah and spent like a week there, week or 2 weeks, because if anyone doesn't know, the Mormon Church basically may as well have a copyright license to all the genealogical records in the United States and then some. Like they have a whole library, but instead of books, it's genealogy with birth records, like everything going back like couple hundred years. From other countries, they've gotten it imported in, but like they have the beginning of the United States forward. I found out 2 things. One is cool. One is just amusing. On my father's side, I am blood relative of Joseph Smith's wife, which is funny to me. And then the second one is my 4th cousin, by blood, is Aaron Burr.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, for one thing, we're not getting any duels. You can just forget that part.
Pew.
Second of all, you basically got fucked by Joseph Smith. I just want you to think about that for a minute.
And the irony of the whole thing, like as a kid all the way till early adulthood, the Mormon Church was like, well, your last name's Smith, so you are a relative of Joseph Smith, which is not true. Which is not true.
What is happening? No.
Which is not true.
No, sir. No.
Like, but it's funny that it lands
in
like
Genghis
1 degree of
Khan.
separation.
No. So come on. I'm a relative of the dude who invented the DNA, well, the asshole who invented the DNA molecule or whatever.
I'll give you credit.
No, he was an asshole. That guy's a dick.
I'll allow it.
Oh, 2 votes. You're out.
So,
You got it.
Lyman, as someone who's very, very, very left, how are you feeling about American politics? I mean, we did get the Senate to 50-50. Georgia did vote into Democrats, so they've just changed the laws to basically let anybody who's left of Newt Gingrich won't be allowed to vote in the future. But how does it, I mean, where we are now, obviously we're not going to be partying too much about Biden. We're not wearing Biden hats, although
No.
someone should ironically make them just for fun.
We're not in a cult.
That sounds fun though.
But we can act like we're in a cult.
But can we grow on this? Because I feel like one of the things that we totally missed out on, like Obama became president and we just gave up and said we won, and then it's been pretty terrible since. Like, how do we take advantage of this momentum?
So
It's got to be local. Like, I don't know.
Grassroots
Tennessee's
all
kind
the
of
way.
lost. Georgia's probably lost, but maybe there's hope.
You gotta
So-
have grassroots movements.
yeah, no, you're Chris is absolutely right. Like fundamentally, regardless of now or a decade from now or 3 decades from now, like at the end of the day, the thing I always say, because people get frustrated because Biden's in there, he's obviously not progressive, although he is doing more than I thought he would. So like I'll give him a little bit of credit for that. And I'm Tarantino it. I'm cautiously optimistic about what we can possibly get out of it, because the good thing about Bernie Sanders, which I know some people really dislike him, is his two runs have initiated and like fired up a lot of people that probably would have never participated in politics to begin with. So that's a good thing. I think our opportunity right now is because of what the work that's been done by him, AOC, the grassroots people, Stacey Abrams, all these left people, is like Biden, for better or for worse, knows that, and it's why we're seeing some of the things that are done, or the promises of like decriminalizing marijuana, like federally and things like that, are even on the table. I think the thing that people can capitalize on right now is they need to get right now, as far as Democrats are concerned, I think progressive people are more electable than they have been previously, like over the last, we'll just say 4 or 5 years. And while I'm not, singing Biden's praises, because it's really early still, there's still a lot of road to fuck up, and he hasn't gone as far progressive and left as I would like him to. I'm happy to see that there are things being entertained, even if people feel they're not as significant as they should be, like forgiving, canceling like $10,000 of student loan debt. Like historically, that would have never been a thing. And I think what's happening is because society is being slowly changed to be excluding the QAnon stuff. Like those people are like so far right, it doesn't even matter. But like people are becoming more progressive, at least in some regard, that it is possible to take the small win and keep building on top of it. I've been working with like some of the Democratic groups that try to find local people in different states to try to, hey, do you want to run for office? Should we run for office type of thing? And they try to like platform them to run against either more centrist Democrats or obviously Republicans. And I think there are more people that believe now, seeing people like AOC getting elected and things like that like a normal person can run, that you don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to be a tens of millionaire. You can just, like, if you have a message and you change your surroundings immediately, that it kind of infects society. Because I think at the end of the day, like no matter how many letters we write or anything else, like you have to change the people, and like the politics will reflect the changes in your society.
And you want to see like examples of wins. Like I was talking about how Missouri was kind of messed up and Republican. Well, Cory Bush on the Democratic side is one of the people that you've heard from consistently. Who these voices have come up. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene is probably from 20 miles north of where I live. Well, I don't know if she's even from there. It seems like no Republican senator is from actually. Like Ted Cruz is Canadian. Noah Hawley was not from Missouri. It's like, oh, find a state where I can get elected in and I can be set for the rest of my life. So you do want people to be in office who want to change things and actually get involved, and people can talk shit about AOC, totally fine. But look what she was doing in Texas, trying to help people.
That was great.
I mean, maybe it's going to help her long-term political career, but
and to be fair, they interviewed her.
She didn't have to do it.
No, and they asked her. I forget what podcast it was I was listening to. They asked her, "Are you going to run again?" And she's like, "I don't know."
That I heard too.
And and she's and her basically the short version of her vantage point is she's like, I'm not trying to. Number one, I don't know if this is like something that I personally want to keep doing, and number two, it's like, as long as I want to do what serves like people, and in my opinion, she does serve people probably more than most people that fill those fucking seats. But I think the idea like of the Josh Hawleys, like the Matt Gates, all these fucking people that try to just put themselves in there and just want to sit in there for all of eternity. This idea that this is like your golden parachute is to get elected. Like that needs to go away on either party.
Well, that's
like
big money influence.
I think if you get like elected into office and you make money off of it, like they were like David Perdue just got voted out, and then he was going to run to take Warnock on, and then he decided not to, and it's like you were just in the office to cash in. Like Kelly Loeffler she was already rich. She just got richer being in office.
Super rich.
I feel like if you run for political office, you get your salary, and if you make any more money, it goes to the government because all this lobbyist cashing in shit. Like, there are a lot of Republicans who just dumped and said, I'm not going to be in office anymore, and they're just getting lobbyist positions.
That's
it's like,
there's...
do you run for government to make the government better? Like, they talk about all these Republicans, like, why do we have people in office who seem to hate the government? Like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. And they're basically making for like 2 generations, like people are going to be like, oh, you're in government. Oh, you're not there to make things better. You're just here to make an easy buck. And it's going to be tougher for the people who actually are trying to make things better for their local constituents and for the country as a whole. Like it's tough. Like even Biden was like, he wanted to help Texas, and Trump probably wouldn't even done that. And it's like, yeah, he said, I'm the president of all America. That was like a radical thing, sadly.
Let me just say before, Reagan is Satan, and Nancy Reagan is Satan's sidekick. Go watch the Showtime documentary on the Reagans. It's like 4 parts.
What's it called?
The Reagans.
Is it really?
I did watch. Yeah, it's about him.
If you want to get pissed off about, I need help on Reagan. But if you want to get more pissed off about Ronald cocksucking motherfucking Reagan,
dude, it's just trickling down. You just got to be patient.
Yeah, I know.
Let me go trickle down.
It hasn't happened yet.
I'll do a grave pissing tour. I'll start with Rush.
My
a rush of trickle.
Favorite alternate history book ever was a book I have about RFK. He doesn't get killed and he becomes president. And Ronald Reagan takes him on in like 76 and he loses and he becomes a game show host. And I'm like, I think that's what Ronald Reagan should have been, a game show. And he was happy to be like, cool, I'm a game show host. He wasn't like...
He totally was. That's what he was.
He would have been like if he was still alive at the same age, but it was today, he could fill in for Alex Trebek.
No,
he could do Jeopardy. Like
he could read pretty well. He was an actor. Like he was actually pretty good at it.
It's his deadpan. Like like we've all watched his speeches where it's like it's very like slightly more than monotone. It's very mellow. Like. I feel like that would be a really good Jeopardy.
You know how many states he won in re-election? Do you know he won 49 states?
Reagan?
Yes. Well, you ever heard the term Reagan Democrat?
Yeah.
That's
in 1980 he won a crazy amount. It was like that would be the amount that Biden would have won if Trump hadn't like cheated enough to like thought he was going to cheat enough to win, but it didn't happen.
It should have been.
It was like we really needed, in a way, we needed Biden to like win by a landslide, but he won by enough where it couldn't be overturned. And then there people are going to try for like a generation to make it seem like it was closer than it was. I mean, I think his race with Hillary was closer. Even it was. Obviously, he lost the popular vote. It's amazing. This guy lost the popular vote twice and thought he was like ordained.
Well,
No, he
it's 'cause
got
he's
ordained.
Jesus won the Electoral College, people.
Of
Anyway,
course. On that note, have either of you been tracking what's going on at CPAC?
Oh Lord, yeah. That
I just
young
know they're
Pharaoh
canceling
guy.
people. Did they?
Yeah,
invite-
they're counseling.
Is David Silverman
And
going to that
black.
again?
He
Now
is.
that he's like
David
legitimately
Silverman
part
is-
of the base.
No, he is going
How do
He
you
is
know
going.
that? How do you know that?
because he posted it.
When? Just now?
I don't
'Cause
know,
was watching.
and I heard it from Natalie too. She told me about it.
Ain't this a bitch? I'm out of the loop on this.
So, the long and the short. Do you know about the guy? There's one person that's been disinvited as a speaker. Do you know
Young
anything about him?
Pharaoh, yeah, he's like some wannabe rapper who says some horribly
Dude,
anti-Semitic shit.
It's worse than that because there's a group of people that are definitely black people. They're not they're an extreme minority, and they're referred to as hoteps.
Hoteps, yeah, I've heard hoteps.
Yeah. So the nuts and bolts of those people is that they are definitely pro-black, which is cool. But in every other way you can physically imagine, they are, I will use the generous term of conservative, anti-women, all this other stuff. Now,
To be
this
fair,
guy-
they've been around.
oh, they've been around for a
Forever.
while. Oh yeah, no, for sure.
So this is not like a.
It's not new.
He's not representative of like. They're not all fucking. You know. super
All the
criminals.
hoteps are.
They're just
all the hoteps are
assholes,
fucked
but
up.
they're not fucking
All,
criminals and shit. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh.
not all. I will grant you, not all, but
I'm
I
sure
can-
some of them, are good people. Lyman.
Oh, some of them are good people. Way to go.
they're the closest thing I can equate to a Nazi that's not like a white supremacist.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and retract that.
I
statement,
will
sir.
not.
Sir.
I 100% will not. And I will tell you why. I will send you the information so you can hear the words from the mouths.
I'm just saying you could
It's
have used a
bad.
better comparison.
Well, to what?
Like the Nation of Islam.
So okay, hold on. I'll give you something better. So I'll justify myself here. So that Pharaoh dude that was canceled. The reason why he was, and fuck the word canceled, he was disinvited. It's not that he was saying anything too extreme. It's the fact that he doesn't really have like the slick, subtle, softer packaging of what he says. This guy, and I can provide the audio for you to hear, does not, but he's not like a David Duke where it's like, oh, well, the Holocaust happened.
No, I've
but-
heard it. I've heard it. I don't-
But
Have you?
anytime there's a but at the end of that, it's
They're
a
like,
bad
oh,
place
well,
for a but.
the Holocaust, right? The Holocaust happened, but not, it wasn't exactly this. There wasn't this big genocide. And, they had a swimming pool or some shit, right?
I wasn't talking about the severity of it. I was talking about you using
Was there
that
a water
particular
slide?
comparison.
Yeah.
It was problematic as fuck.
It is not. Wait for it. This guy says that Jews aren't real and Judaism doesn't exist because there's no historical or any kind of verifiable proof that they exist. Yeah,
Interesting.
Jews don't exist according to this man.
Huh.
Do any of us?
There's not a
exist
lot
though?
of verifiable proof that a lot of stuff in the Old Testament happened, but yeah, Jewish people existing, they do have a country,
I'm pretty sure.
Right?
People were trying really hard for them not to, and I hate it because like I feel bad because like Jewish people become like the volleyball, like everybody's passing this anti-Semitic stuff back and forth.
Mhm.
Anytime you dare say anything bad about Israel, it's like you're anti-Semitic. It's like, well, Israel.
Yeah, there's.
It's
some-
like,
I
well,
mean, yeah,
talking shit
why-
about talking shit about their government is not anti-Jew.
I mean, there was an attempt to move Jewish people. Their homeland was going to be Alaska. And
Whoa.
there actually was an
Is that
alternate
true?
history book that was written about if that actually
Where are
happened.
you all getting the? I need you to give me titles because I
Dude.
love that shit. I've never heard of any
Explain that because I've never heard that.
I'll have to because I can't remember.
Is this like a
the
fictional piece or
author. There was
somebody-
it was an attempt to make Alaska into the Jewish homeland. and there is an alternate history book, and I'll have to find it, that actually talks about
I'd never heard that.
the Jewish. Michael Chabon, the author, wrote the book. I can't remember the name of it.
I can't imagine.
But it was Alaska. Like there was an Alaskan senator who blocked it, and then this alternate history book, he dies, and that.
Is this like Man in High Castle, but for what happened to the?
In
Jews?
this version, Israel actually gets destroyed, so the Jewish Alaskan state is the only place for Jewish people to go after World War II.
It gives a whole nother meaning to northern exposure. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody actually lived there. I saw David Edwards showed up in the chat, and he's trying to say that Ronald Reagan is Satan. He's trying to compare him to Putin and Hitler and Stalin. It's like, well, yeah, maybe compared to the worst people in history, Ronald Reagan isn't terrible, but Ronald Reagan was pretty terrible. I mean, he should have been impeached. Like his whole giving, what was it, the whole Iran-Contra affair?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, how many years?
I got more than that.
Who wouldn't have been impeached for that? But it was like Ronald Reagan. Oh, he got shot. His brain's a little off, and they just like got away with it.
He got shot in the fucking armpit or some shit like that. He didn't get fucking shot in the head. Like, I mean,
that's ridiculous. That's just a facile statement, mostly because Reagan influenced the country. Not for how long was Stalin around? Maybe you could make a case for Stalin. But I don't know, because Reagan is still affecting us today.
It's like blaming people, like blaming atheism for what happened to Stalin. It's like, yeah, Stalin led a state.
And that's such
if an atheist is going to lead a country,
who the fuck blames atheism for Stalin?
All those Jesus
people have.
You know what?
Well,
fuck those people.
Reagan was bad, but just not Stalin. I don't even know. Like that feels like.
Well, I mean,
how many? What's
you're
the
right. Yeah,
term
okay.
where
Stalin,
you say things that are ridiculous, like
yes,
Reagan wasn't like shooting people in the head on TV every day, but he wasn't. He was pretty bad.
I will personally go toe to toe in any debate with any human being about Reagan being a fucking horrible person.
No, that's fine. I just meant is he on Stalin level?
He's been portrayed as. He's been portrayed in America, like a lot of people, as like one of the best presidents, and I'm like,
yeah, of course.
Is he? I mean, bottom 5. I don't even know. It's really tough. Like some of the 19th century presidents. Come on, like Andrew Jackson. Woo.
Well, okay, so the 19th, the 19th century. If we cut out the 19th century, because let's put it this way: anything pre, like abolition. That's like their own little world that it holds a special place. Like you can't be like, well, my president, the guy like is better than like the guy that was, flogging and whipping slaves on their plantation. It's like, good job.
Even Abraham Lincoln was like, yeah, black people should go to Africa. Like he
was not what we would consiher progressive.
But
for the time.
They're definitely.
They all thought black people were inferior. That was a common thing. Everybody thought that. Even a lot of abolitionists thought that. Well, they thought they should have freedom, but they still didn't think they were necessarily
equal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Like if you look at Guatemala and stuff like that. And anything south of our U.S. borders in the 80s, like all the stuff in, pick a fucking country down there that everyone talks shit about. Oh, well, that's what socialism gets you. Like all of those places, like under Reagan, were definitively we financed, and this is verifiable fact. This is not my fucking opinion. Like. You can go and look at
it's okay.
Yeah, I have some.
And on this show, you're right.
Always. No, but we financed all kinds of like weird, super far right, like militias down there. We literally sent them weapons. We sent them all kinds of resources and everything so they could take over, anything that resembled anything not capitalist friendly. That's just a fact. Like, you can blame Reagan for allowing for-profit prisons, which the first one started in 1983. Which, that whole ball with the war on drugs, you can definitely blame on Nixon. But really caught fire and started running with Reagan. And then you have the George W. Bush Republican and Democrat written, the crime bill, which was done at the end of Bush's tenure there and passed under fucking Clinton.
It was understood by the end of the 70s. The common conception was that crime was going down and we were going to go to a more progressive system.
Dude, it was reactionary to the crack epidemic, which is not. First of all, it was over 2/3 majority white people that were using crack during the 80s.
Well, they were using cocaine, which is why the crack
yes.
sentencing disparity.
You mean Donald Jr.? Oh, sorry.
Well, no.
Come on.
No, you're right. Like the cocaine was being used by affluent white people, basically, and cocaine was the answer to market. Crack was the answer to marketing that drug to people of lesser means. But crack itself was 2/3 white consumers. But the only thing we ever saw on TV and things like that was inner city and words like that, which made it a black problem. But the fact of the matter is that the CIA, things like that, the government was complicit with sending money down to South America and things like that, literally bringing in cocaine to the United States, and law enforcement in New York, LA, things like that were complicit in allowing it to be disseminated in the inner city because it was an extension of racism to allow them to persecute the inner city and fuck up the black people. But
God, I love this country.
Yeah, fuck this country.
Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance to finish the show out? That'd be perfect.
But like honestly, at the end of the day, like anybody who thinks about the crack epidemic thinks, oh, well, it was a black people problem. Oh, it was an inner city problem. No, it definitely affected them, but they were still the minority of people. It was like less than 1/3 of black people that were using it. There were affluent middle class, upper middle class people driving to the inner city to purchase crack cocaine, and this is like a verifiable fact. The CIA allowed it to bring it in. They actually got caught because one of their planes crashed with a boatload of it. Like, and they had to testify. People had to testify in front of the Senate and in front of Congress to like answer to this. And this is all public record. Like, there's actually a good documentary on Netflix called Crack. I highly recommend.
I just saw that.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good.
Hey, is it dirty if two cats are licking your hand at the same time?
And now, this is where crack is, right here.
You're not drinking that.
No, I'm not. I don't know. If David Edwards, who I think is still Canadian, is in our chat room talking. I don't know. He's trying to say that Reagan wasn't Satan, maybe just a lesser demon. I don't even know.
Listen.
Reagan, it's not even worth getting into. It's like
it's really not, because people that believe that at this point either aren't willing to read books and don't know words, or they have deluded themselves to the point of like the inability to have a conversation. Because number one, he was the first and primary facilitator of really setting the forest fire that became mass incarceration, the war on drugs. Like, yes, he didn't invent it, but he like took it and he's like, hold my beer, hold my trickle down, and really fucked it up. Iran, Central and South America, all this stuff. He was fucking garbage, objective garbage. Up until Trump became president, he was considered widely to be the worst president in the 20th century and 21st century. Hands down. He trumped Bush. 1 and 2. He's fucking hot garbage. Like, I would love for somebody to tell me why he's not Satan. Cool. He doesn't have horns and a pitchfork. What's your point?
Well, I'm not having an argument with someone who just came in out of left field onto the chat room.
No.
And I don't even know necessarily. Sometimes you're like, someone's making an interesting point. It's like, I don't even know. It's like, yeah, Reagan wasn't like the devil. Okay.
He wasn't Trump. Cool.
I mean, like, you consider like all of our presidents have been like war
kind of
criminals. Maybe Jimmy
strong
Carter was the last one who wasn't, but probably
That's
was.
ac-
Oh, I gotta prepare.
that's
I have to
accurate.
prepare for that.
It's like,
Damn
hey,
it,
we're
it's gonna
like
suck
we're
so
bombing
bad.
anyway. We've been doing this for. I mean, of course, Lyman's been on just half an hour, so he's fresh. He still has that fresh, young energy. So before we call it a night, what's Podunk up to? What are you two guys up to? How do people track you down?
We're still doing the thing. We've we kind of kissed and made out, and we decided to keep the thing rolling a little bit. Virtually, of course. I can't tell you the rest. Really,
Wear a mask, stay home.
we're gonna start OnlyFans. That's all I'm gonna say. So
Oh,
yeah,
my cats.
look for
We're
us on a
just gonna-
semi-regular basis.
We're just gonna pose with cats and Antifa flags.
Ooh, I like that.
Kind of cool. Yeah. It's the postmodern polymath, which I always forget. At your usual locations, Twitter, Facebook. We're on WordPress, Podunk. See, postmodernpolymath.com. The usual stuff. I want to try to get guests on next week. We'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping Lyman can. He knows all these big people. He never wants.
Does he?
Wants to talk to.
Do I?
So, that's what he keeps saying.
Edward Snowden, come on, guys, make it happen.
Shit. We'd have fucking No, bruh. No, they'd be on my doorstep. So, hi, how you doing? What do you say?
You know who I would really like to get as a whole, and I would even like bring Zach in to
Oh,
to talk about it. Because oh my god, my tired brain just shut off. Holy shit!
Joan Assange, the
No.
ghost of Ronald Reagan.
No. Oh my god, he's like a political philosopher. He's like the last living holy grail that we have left.
Chomsky.
Yes,
Chomsky.
Hey,
He's never.
he's been on.
you know what?
I think he could be. He could be ad.
He's amiable, and you know what? I know people at the college he teaches in because he teaches and lives in Arizona now.
Dude, good luck. I mean, if you can get Noam Chomsky, I'll suck your dick.
You could literally just say cool.
This is
It's unnecessary.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Do you know who has gotten an email response to Noam Chomsky?
Who?
Natalie.
Who?
Natalie.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
They
See?
said.
You're like, I know her.
I know her.
I know in one
She's
instance
in the next room.
they let him
Cover
send
your ears.
questions. They let him send questions, and they.
Well, I know that
he answered the questions or something.
Yeah, I know that he prefers, for one reason or another, probably because he gets a lot of different nonsense, to answer like emails and things like that and letters. But
Just not Sam Harris. That was so good. I don't care how long ago that was. It's so funny.
But I do know people that teach at the university where he's at. That I grew up with, so I can maybe. He's a professor. He's still he's still running classes. No, I'm just part of a red state. I'm surprised that he honestly went there, to be honest with you.
One last suggestion for you before I forget, Zach.
Okay.
You should do Welcome to the Zachrilege cast, but phase it in and out and shit. Put
Like
a little
60s,
groove
like
into it for your podcast version. Get a little flair to it. What do you think?
Well, we'll see how it goes because I have an idea for tomorrow night, and we'll see how. A brand new guest, but we'll see what I come up with. Because usually, if I have to do a lot of work and planning and actual coming up with questions, it's not good. That's why I did tonight's show. But tomorrow when there's a brand new person who tends to talk a lot, well, that's the whole point. You talk a lot, I do this. That's what the show's all about.
You're like, interesting, but highly overrated.
Interesting, yes, I know. So thank you, Chris and Lyman, for being back on for the Podunk kind of reunion, and hopefully we'll do it again. So thanks everybody for being on. Postmodern.
Yes.
We're kind of podunk.
Marxist postmodern.
Something. Who the fuck
Just
cares?
got
We're all gonna
scared.
die anyway. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna die in a fireball probably soon. That's fine. Anyway, thanks for having us on, Zach. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Always a pleasure.